Candy, thank you so very, very much. You know, being the liaison between the House, Senate, and White House is an extraordinary hard job, and Candy did it with such grace and with such skill, and really helped to push legislation through that otherwise might not have passed. So it's great to see her again, and thank you for her very kind words. You know, I was told I had 5 minutes. Steve Bartlett and I were just talking about that. You know, I just want to tell you about Steve Bartlett very quickly. And Senator Harkin was so kind to include that he was the lead Republican sponsor. Obviously, Senator Harkin was the prime author and did a tremendous job on the ADA. And Steve was the kind of congressman that you always wanted on your side when you were in a debate. Very, very shrewd, very effective, very articulate, and he won debate after debate. So we miss you, Steve. Anytime you want to come back, we need you up on the Hill. I think the only one who ever gets the better of him is his wife, Gail. I also want to say, Brian Fitzgerald from Easter Seals, New Jersey, thank you for your great leadership. As I said, Candy Wolf, I just have known her for so long. She's a wonderful, wonderful advocate. Candy mentioned the work that we've done together on a number of causes and concerns, from combating autism to assisting veterans. And I would just say that your efforts, your advocacy efforts, has truly made a huge, a colossal difference, not only on Capitol Hill, but in legislatures throughout the state and in mayoral offices and county offices throughout the country. When I first got elected to Congress in 1980, the disability community thought that the prevalence rate for autism was approximately 3 out of 10,000 individuals. Now we know it's 1 in 88. In my own state of New Jersey, it's 1 in 49, according to the Centers for Disease Control. This exponential increase, which we began to see in the late 1980s, took off in the 1990s, is not just a matter of better reporting and better surveillance. We have found there are some things in the environment, the predisposition, perhaps genetically, but a whole host of issues that now the National Institutes of Health, working in partnership, is aggressively, with a plan behind it, trying to find and discover so that we will get a treatment, so we will find the cause to prevent it in the first place. And just as the model of that first 5 years, we all know that early intervention is extraordinarily important to help a child achieve a higher function so he or she perhaps can even get a job, and many do. Easter Seals has always been very active in the area of Veterans Affairs. As Candy mentioned a moment ago, I chaired the House Committee on Veterans Affairs. And so much of my time was spent working on disability issues. I wrote the polytrauma law. I'll never forget on the issue of homelessness. I wrote the Homeless Veterans Assistance Act. I had a hearing, and I'll never forget, I had 4 hearings before we marked up the bill. I had one man who said that it's gotten so bad that I lost my home. And everybody on the committee, you could hear an audible groan. Then he said they towed away the car that I was sleeping in. We heard from so many men and women with problems attributable to post-traumatic stress disorder and so many other issues now attributable to deep brain injury. But again, that partnership that Phil talked about earlier, you can't do it, we can't do it. The VA can't do it alone, the military cannot do it alone. The government can't do it alone. It needs that all-important essential partnership. So thank you that Easter Seals is doing that. I was just getting back to that idea of 5 minutes. I just want you to know that I will try to keep the 5. And I learned my lesson recently. I chair the Lyme Disease Caucus in the House. And I was invited to be their keynote speaker at a national event. It was their national convention. And I got up. They said, you had an hour, Chris. I took an hour and 5 minutes. Got into the weeds, and at the end of it, you know the way people sometimes assemble to talk to you, this little girl came up, because a lot of people brought their families, and this little girl, about 4 years old, came up, and she said, you know, mister, your speech was long and boring. She spun around and walked away. A couple of minutes later, her father came up, and he said, you know, I saw you talking to my little girl, my little daughter, Melissa. I don't know what you two are talking about, but I just want you to know that she just repeats whatever she hears. So I will so chastened move to a conclusion, and again, I want to thank Easter Seals for your extraordinary work. You know, in the early 1970s, I put together a symposium on disability rights at my college. It's now called the College of New Jersey, that featured a remarkable young woman named Sandra Diamond of Philadelphia, a psychologist who was confined to a wheelchair with cerebral palsy. A tireless disability rights advocate, Sandra's parents were told when she was born that the prognosis for her was so bleak that it was highly likely that she would never even talk. According to Sandra, some even said that she shouldn't even have been allowed to be born in the first place. But with persistence and resolve, she did learn to talk and overcome and to excel. So Sandra began her speech to a packed room of college students by ordering us to look at me. Yes, I'm shaking, in your eyes even convulsing, but look at me. Stop looking away, averting your eyes. I'm just like you, she said, filled with hopes and dreams and the need to love and be loved. Look at me, she said a third time. As I looked, and others did as well, even stared at that point, I stopped seeing her disability and her flailing arms and legs, and instead saw a remarkably courageous woman, smart, tenacious, and successful. A beautiful woman, filled to overflowing with faith, love for God and for people, and a mission to help disabled persons, like Julia Rizzo, filled with that drive to help others. Look at me. That's what Easter Seals has done so well, and for so many, and for so long, for almost a century. Acknowledge the disability, treat it, mitigate its consequences, pursue a cure. But see the beauty, the dignity, the specialness, the innate God-given sacredness of every human life. See the infinite value of the person wrapped inside the disability. And see as well the family and the caregivers and the friends who at times, perhaps often, are crushed with challenges and pain. Pain that those of us within the non-disabled community often fail to comprehend. But of course, that's not you. Easter Seals is there always for them. You are always there for them. Thank you.